first inductee, Coach Bobby Watson, Owensboro High School, 1957 to 1980. Bobby Watson. Our next inductee, Larry Conley, Ashland High School, 1963. Billy Ray Lickert, Lafayette High School, 1950 to 57. The family of Mike Casey, Laura Lake, and Letcher Miller. The family of the late Coach Letcher Norton, represented by their son, Steve Norton. Now from Paintsville High School, J.R. VanHoose. Johnny Cox. From Clark County High School, Linville Puckett. The family of Joel Fulks, represented by nephew Mitchell McKinney. Now from Laurel County High School, Sharon Garland. From the Highlands High School, Jaime Walz-Richey. From Newport High School, Donna Murphy. Coach Bill Kean. From Central High School. And his daughter, Allan Houston. And now, Allan Houston from Ballard High School. And from Breckenridge County High School, Butch.
That's fast.
Yes. We live on 53.
I used to be Billy Ray.
Oh, okay.
I still do. I work for Fox, but you know me in the games up here. Yeah. You get Fox Ohio. That's when those guys were we're down there all the time.
This is bringing back so many feel like going into the Hall of Fame, Coach Watson?
Well, it makes me feel real good. I'm glad to do it, and just appreciate what I've done all these years and playing different games and so on and so forth.
Still, I think I am in shock. It's been a wonderful experience, and I feel as though I just represent my teams I played on. It's not an individual thing, it never was on our teams. So I just feel like I'm representing all the girls I ever played with in our county and my coaches, and I'm just tickled to be amongst this great group of people.
He would be very humbled and be appreciative. He loved high school basketball. Even after he played, he went to all the state tournaments every year, made sure all his buddies went, and they scouted the teams out, and he loved high school basketball. He would be thrilled to death.
Well, I tell you one thing, there's a lot of talent here, for sure. It's a wonderful night for all the good players in the state of Kentucky.
Tell you what's great about a high school Hall of Fame in basketball in this state. It's needed because this state and the people in it love this game. It's commitment, it's rich history, everything about this game. I mean, we're going back decades and decades. And the reason that these people show up for these high school games, and they still do it, in great numbers, even when I was in high school and even before that, they turned out. And this game has grown to the point where it's a true love affair between those people sitting in the stands, the players, the coaches. It'll never go away. This state is just enamored with everything that is good about basketball. And talk about richness and commitment, character, all of that. It's just love. It's all it is. Between a program, a wonderful sport, and all the people that follow it.
Pretty amazing because you go in with all these people you idolize, and now you're here with them. It's pretty crazy.
It literally it makes you who you are. And so that's why it's special to me, because I realize the impact that these years had on my life and how they set the foundation for a lot of things that I've been able to experience. So I wouldn't never miss this moment, especially because you're able to kind of walk side by side and honor your family legacy, your grandfather, which is just walking through Freedom Hall now and stopping and seeing those plaques in the Kentucky Hall of Fame. Then you got your father and then your grandfather, and just kind of don't really know how to process it sometimes.
I tell you what, I couldn't be any happier. This is just such a special night. Can you imagine having your father and your son, and what a legacy. The only regret I have is that Daddy is not here to enjoy all this for himself, but especially for his grandson. But I gotta believe he's looking down.
'13 Centennial Induction Ceremony. Tonight's Hall of Fame program is presented in honor and memory of Elizabethtown Mayor Tim Walker, a true friend of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
Tim Walker was a man of honor, a man you could trust, a man when he gave his word, you could take it to the bank. We'll always be grateful for the way he supported the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. And working with Tim was just such a pleasure because you knew you were doing business with an honorable person who really had his heart in the right place, who had a passion for what we were doing, a passion for Elizabethtown, a passion for just making the world a better place.
Tim was the guy that quietly and calmly stepped in and said, "Hey guys, what about this? What about that?" And everything worked out. Tim was one of the most non-political guys in a political position that you'll ever meet. He simply tried to do the right thing for everybody. And this Hall of Fame, quite honestly, will be one of his legacies also, because If not for Tim Walker, our mayor, I don't think we'd have it here.
He was a friend to everyone. He didn't look at your race, he didn't look at your social status, he was always willing to help everybody. He wasn't like a politician, and I never saw him that way. You always saw him as a friend, a person who cared deeply about this community, deeply about the Hall of Fame, and about supporting E-Town, and we will miss him.
Tim Walker was a friend of mine from the time he was a very young man until he passed away, and I worked with him in city government, and he was well loved by everybody in Elizabethtown. And one of his projects was to help bring the Kentucky Basketball Hall of Fame Museum to Elizabethtown, and we will see that that is completed in his honor.
And now, the essence of the game.
"100 years ago, most high schools in the United States were smaller than they are today. It was then that basketball became the ideal interscholastic sport. It required little equipment and few people to play. The popularity of high school basketball became unrivaled in Kentucky, with over 500 high school teams at one point. Every team had its town. Every town had its team. Today, basketball's popularity remains high, both in rural areas as well as in our larger cities. Many Kentucky players go on to participate at higher levels of competition after graduating high school. But the essence of high school basketball in Kentucky is more than a player's dream of college stardom. It is more than mastering the skills required to play the game. It teaches many life lessons. It teaches our children how to be competitive. It teaches fair play in an orderly, rule-based system. It teaches how to deal with the highs and lows that are embedded in competition, shaping their character in the fires of competition. It teaches that teamwork is essential for success. Players develop lifelong friendships with each other, and their coaches teach them not only the rules of the game, but mentor each player. Basketball teaches a work ethic, which creates success and boosts the player's self-confidence. And that confidence carries over in all aspects of life, from the classroom to personal decision-making. High school basketball in Kentucky teaches our children how to succeed in the real world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Curtis Turley, Director, State Coordinator of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame.
Thank you, and welcome to tonight's 2013 induction ceremony for the centennial class into the Kentucky Basketball Hall of Fame. We are certainly glad that all of you are here tonight. What I would like to say on behalf of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, to the inductees, congratulations and thanks for their efforts to be here tonight. To family, friends, and fans, we're proud that you're a part of this historic event. And now, let's all enjoy the evening as we remember great moments from the past.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's MCs, celebrity sportscasters from WKYT-TV in Lexington, Kentucky, Christy Thomas and Dave Baker.
Good evening. I was waiting for you to come across the chest bump.
We could have. I could have this year, not last year.
I don't know if y'all remember, but last year, if any of you were happened to be here, I'm a little more comfortable this year than I was last year. I was actually pregnant last year and stood up here for about 2 hours in high heels. So that's how I feel about the high school basketball Hall of Fame. How do you feel about it?
Great with child.
Right, yeah.
But you made it through the induction last year and then made it through Midnight Madness with 3 or 4 days to spare.
Yes, I did. But welcome to everyone. I can speak on behalf of Dave when I tell you that we are so humbled and thrilled to be here. We were a part of last year's inaugural class for this Hall of Fame, and it's truly a wonderful event. Truly some wonderful people that we're honoring tonight, and it's a thrill for us to be here and be a part of this.
I have the good fortune of being able to be a part of a lot of events like this, not only around the state of Kentucky, but around the Southeastern Conference in my travels. And over the last year, and I mean this sincerely, and this is a credit not only to the organization, but to the inductees, certainly to the city of Elizabethtown and the volunteers and everything. Nobody does it any better than this, and we appreciate you all having us as a part of this event tonight again. So without any further ado, let's give it up. Big round of applause for the historic and significant contributions of the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2013. How neat is this to see so many friends, so many great players, so much history and tradition that we get to share with here tonight.
It's fantastic, and I tell you what I love about the fact that there's so many individual accomplishments. There are so many things that happen for our teams. I know we talked about that in one of the opening videos, that everybody has their team, everybody has their town that they cheer for, and all of these folks were a part of that, and really always are going to hold a special place in your heart, because you're always going to remember that time when Allan Houston hit a shot. You're always going to remember that time. Where were you when Jaime Walz knocked down a big bucket? So you're always going to remember those types of things, and that's what makes Kentucky basketball so incredibly special.
For those of you who weren't able to be with us last year, there is a theme to each and every one of these groups that go in tonight. So as we get the night going, let's start with a two-time All-Stater from Breckinridge County, a Mr. Everything from Shelby County, and a runt who has been a basketball fixture now for over 50 years. The 60s Sensations.
Alfred Butch Beard, Breckinridge County High. Butch Beard became a legend in Kentucky high school basketball history by leading his Breckinridge County High School Bearcats to consecutive state championship games in 1964 and 1965, winning the crown in '65. Butch was the leader of the pressing, whistling Bearcats, who were crowd favorites at the Sweet 16. Twice, Butch was named to the All-State Tournament and All-State teams, and he was named Mr. Basketball in 1965. He played at the University of Louisville with Wes Unseld, forming the Cards' dynamic duo. He had successful years as both an NBA player and a coach.
Where I come from, Breckinridge County, Coach Morris, he was a blessing in disguise. He came into my life at the right time, because he's the first one who told me, he says, when I was a sophomore, do you realize that you can go to college with your basketball ability? That's all we were trying to do, was get a college education out of it. So the rest is history. As a group of young African-American kids, he was the glue that put it all together. We averaged 75, 80 points a game in a high school game. 32 minutes, no three-point shots, you know? And it's tough to even get 40 to 50 points in a high school game now. The people that you are around helps to prepare you to become a whole person. Not only Coach Morris, the administrators at Breckinridge County High, they embraced what was going on. They wouldn't give you any slack. They relished in the success, but they also pushed that group of guys every day. They had a lot to do with molding this group of young men to what we were. It was a whole community effort getting us to the state tournament 2 years in a row. It's hard to believe now. Breckinridge County, those 2 years, 64 and 65, we won 67 basketball games. We played Covington Holy Name. We had one heck of a game. It was almost like a dream come true. We've been here before. We know what it takes to, to see if we can finish it off. A great feeling. The geography of Kentucky, going down 31W, 60, and we get to Irvington, Kentucky. The cops pull us over, fire engine in front, and they escort us all the way into Breckinridge County. We got to the school. It was that loyal group of people who had followed us all year long. They were there. I always said, if you wanted to rob the bank in Hardinsburg, Kentucky, do it when we were on the road, because nobody was there, including the cops, because they were with us on the road. 17 years old, and I told Mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to attend the University of Louisville. I made the best decision that I could have possibly made in my life, because I came to Louisville, a little country boy comes to Louisville, and I make good. I just wish people would understand the history of the game, especially in this state. This state has tremendous basketball history. Coach Morris used to all the time tell me, you should read about Clem Haskins. You should read about Wawa Jones. You don't know about Cliff Hagan? I would like for them to think that Butch Beard was a complete player. He gave it his all, was never satisfied with his performance, whether it was good or bad. And that was one of the driving forces that probably got me to not only U of L, but also as a professional. I was never satisfied. I always wanted to try to get better. And after having that taste of a championship in high school, I wanted it at every level that I played at. Not a bad life for a little country boy from Hardinsburg, Kentucky.
Mike Casey, Shelby County High School. With a great all-around game, Mike Casey was recognized as a high school All-American in 1966 and nicknamed Mr. Everything for his Shelby County Rockets. His senior year, he led the Rockets to the state championship and was named Mr. Basketball. Many consider that 1966 Rockets team one of the great teams to win the Sweet 16. Twice he received All-State honors and made the All-State tournament team in 1966. He continued his star performance on the court for the University of Kentucky Wildcats.
I believe it was either 7th or 8th grade we played in a county-wide junior high school tournament. I was at Baghdad, he was at Simpsonville. I could tell right off that I wasn't the only good ball player in Shelby County. It didn't take me long to realize who the best player in Shelby County was, so from that point on I knew Mike and respected Mike, and we became best friends. Our sophomore year, we both started on Shelby County's team. He started as a forward and I started as a guard. I don't think of all the hundreds of thousands of players I've seen, game time, I haven't seen anybody that quite had the continuous effort and the continuous results as Mike did. He never threw in a stinker or a rotten egg of a game that I can ever recall. He had a lot of traits that you couldn't coach. Good hands, heart just as big to driving, just to keep him going, nose for the ball, things like I said that you can't coach.
The thing that was remarkable about Coach Harrell is that he prepared you for every game. If you ran across something that another team ran against you, it hadn't been invented the day he scouted you. And we knew what to do, and we had over 100 plays in our offensive arsenal there. So we were prepared for everything, because they threw presses against us, they threw diamond and twos against us, a box and chaser, either against myself or Busey. And he had us prepared for all that kind of stuff. But as far as our team goes, we were throwback, the old school fundamentals, blocking out, rebounding, working on shooting free throws. What helped me out coming from high school into University of Kentucky was that Coach Harrell's program, his discipline, and his athletic plays that we had. The plays that we ran were the old guard around. That was number 5, number 6 there at Kentucky. Same thing we ran, hit the center, the post, and cut. And Coach Rupp just added a couple little wrinkles to it. Coach Harrell had prepared me for all these different types of offenses that we ran at Shelby County, and they fit right in at Kentucky, and it wasn't that big of an adjustment for us. what makes Kentucky basketball as great as it is? Well, it's because that everybody from one of these little communities, their lives have been touched by a former player. Some of these little towns have sent players. You know, Shelby County wasn't a big town, but the Sweet 16 is something very special because it's a dream of a lifetime. Most players, most teams, their goal is to get there. Ours at Shelby County was to go and win it. The teams that win it, they want to go and win it. And once you've been there and had the taste, whether you win or lose it, it's something that you'll never forget. It's amazing, Kentucky basketball, high school basketball especially, that everybody feels a part of it. The little schools can compete with the big schools. A small school will get in the running here, and watch the crowd pick them up. They'll get behind them, I don't care. If it's 25,000 out there, there'll be 20,000 for the underdog. And that's what's so good about it. And people feel a part of it. It's just something special about Kentucky high school basketball.
But Joe Hall was right. He was one of the best that I've ever seen in high school, and one of the best ever played at UK.
Larry Conley, Ashland High School. Larry Conley led his Ashland High School Tomcats to a state championship in 1961 and state runner-up in 1962. His unselfish play and all-around game were trademarked for both his high school and college careers. Larry received all-state honors in 1961 and 1962. He was a University of Kentucky Wildcat under Coach Adolph Rupp and played on the legendary 1966 Rupp's Runts national runner-up team.
The whole state of Kentucky has always been interested in high school basketball. I would match it against any state in the country when it comes to high school basketball. But Eastern Kentucky just had something about basketball that was very, very important, as it is to the whole state. But for some reason, that part of the country, they live and died with their teams. What we had back then was a good feeder system. We had a good population. We were the largest city in Eastern Kentucky. We had a pretty good pool to pick from. I mean, players who played from grade school on up and really were very accomplished players by the time they got to high school. My dad was a high school basketball coach. I'm standing there with the basketball and he's talking to the team. And I take the ball and I start dribbling it like this. And all of a sudden it got very quiet. And I picked the ball up and I held it. And I looked down at Dad and I looked at the team and they were all looking at me. That was my first lesson in discipline. Don't make noise when the coach is talking, okay? So I held on to the basketball. I didn't dribble the ball anymore. I was 7 years old, and that was my first exposure to discipline on the court. I really enjoyed playing the game, and I would watch other people play. I also spent a lot of time playing against older players. I think that really helped. You kind of get your ears bloodied, get your nose bloodied, and get knocked around a little bit. I like playing the game so much that I spent a lot of time trying to perfect a lot of things that I thought were going to make me better. One of the things I worked diligently on when I was very young was dribbling and handling the basketball with my left hand. I'm a natural right-hander, but I wanted my left hand to be as good as my right hand. I would learn to dribble the basketball with my eyes closed with my left hand so that I could spend the time back on the floor when I got out there and being able to do that. I was never a great shooter. I could shoot. I was not a poor shooter, but I just never spent enough time shooting the basketball. My high school basketball coach, Bob Wright, was a tremendous coach. He did so many things well with not only teaching the individual part of the game, which is so important, particularly when you're growing, but also the team part of the game. We knew we were going to be good. We had a good team. We were ranked in the top 10, I know, to start that year, and it all just melted together. And we had everybody lined up in the right position. I think growing up together had a lot to do with it. We'd known each other for years and years and knew each other's techniques. You could almost anticipate what everybody was going to do. But it's also having a coach to be able to take all those skills and put it together to make it work. It was a convergence. Everybody came together. It was the student body, it was the parents. There were people who came from all over who really participated in this, and that made it fun too. I think that part of actually belonging to a team is so important. We all do our individual work, okay, and that individual work translates into being a team member. And if everybody else does their work, then you have a successful organization, whatever it is. It's been 50 years since I played high school basketball. That's half a century, okay? And I mean, there have been great players come through this state and great teams. Now, why they remember that team, I'm not sure I can give you an explanation on that. The state is so wrapped up in high school basketball that when you have a great team, a really great team, people take notice, not just in the community or that part of the state, but throughout the entire state. And that was a point of pride, I think, with a lot of people up there. And they loved going to those basketball games. They really did.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first sensation from the 60s, Butch Beard. Butch's ring tonight is presented by Mr. Greg Mead, Chairman of the Board of Citizens National Bank of Paintsville. Would you all please congratulate Butch Beard.
Our next inductee in the class of 2013, accepting on behalf of the late Mike Casey, please welcome his daughter, Laura Lake, and sister, Maisha Miller. Mr. Greg Mead of Citizens National Bank of Paintsville, again presenting the ring.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Larry Conley.
Need to get a picture right there, Mr. Conley.
We should be providing better stage direction, shouldn't we? Yeah, there we go.
The threesome? Now we get the threesome. There we go. Now we get the threesome.
Good looking group there, isn't that, folks? Congratulations. Nice. Good stuff there, right?
Isn't that great?
A great way to get things kicked off.
And that just started. You want to talk about centers of attention? Well, everybody talks about this being a little guy's game now, right? Not so much.
Not so much.
It's always about the centers. And our centers of attention tonight, a player who led Laurel County to 3 straight championships, and somebody, it seemed that every pregame show I got more calls about than Richie. Our championship centers, J.R. VanHoose and Sharon Garland.
J.R. VanHoose, Paintsville High School. During his career, J.R. VanHoose was among a handful of elite players to score over 3,000 points, grab over 2,000 rebounds, and blocked over 500 shots. In 1996, he led his Paintsville High School Tigers to win the state championship. At the 1996 Sweet 16, J.R. was named the most valuable player. In 1998, he received Mr. Basketball and Parade All-American honors. J.R. played for Marshall University, where he had an outstanding career with the Thundering Herd.
The first thing I remember about playing basketball, I was in 3rd grade. Paintsville had a junior pro league. Obviously, I was one of the biggest kids in my class. I was never a very good shooter. I wasn't very coordinated. He said, just keep your hands up and rebound. So I took that literally, and so I would run up and down the floor with my hands in the air, and I made it look a lot sillier than I guess it should have. My parents were very supportive. Of course, growing up in Indiana, like my parents did, that's a basketball hotbed as well. So, just being in that atmosphere, they kind of encourage you to play and do your best. And, they had support. And my dad helped Coach Ringen at Paintsville actually from the time I was in 3rd or 4th grade. So I was always around the Paintsville basketball program and knew a lot about its history. John Pelfrey, Joey Couch, Keith Atkins, the guys before them, and you know, I always wanted to grow up and play for that program. In 1996, you know, a lot of people had us ranked as one of the top teams in the state again. You know, our first opponent was Owensboro. They came down and missed 2 shots, 2 good shots that could have won the game, and we go into overtime. And the guard that got the ball, Todd Tackett, he saw me under the basket while he was shooting it, and he just shot it short. And I got the rebound, put it in with a few seconds left, and won the game. And you know, to win your first game at Rupp, and especially when you're 16 years old and you make the game-winning shot, that's a great experience. Our second game in the state tournament was against Allen County Scottsville. It was a struggle. It was a really good game. Those 2 games were the closest ones we had in the tournament. We played Lexington Catholic. That was one of the best games I ever had in my career. I had 29 points and 27 rebounds, and I mean, it was a surreal moment. You know, people had kept telling Coach Reen how many rebounds I had, and I was in foul trouble, so I probably could have got more if he'd let me play a little bit more. And then in the state championship game, it was the same as the Lexington Catholic game. We played Ashland, and to beat them by 20-plus points in the state championship game, we're up so much, so Coach Reen takes us out early, so you really have time to sit over there and think that, man, we just won the state tournament. This is crazy, because you know, they start passing out T-shirts before the game's even over, and the return trip home, that even made it better. You get an escort, you know, probably 2 or 3 miles long with your new fans following you, and fire trucks and police cars and people standing out on their porches waving and clapping, and you know, you get the. It was really something that brought the community together. Other than winning the state championship, the best moment I have at the Sweet 16 was my senior year when we played Scott County in the state finals. You know, when I came out, I got a standing ovation from everybody in the Rupp Arena, because I'd been there so many times and played in so many games, and it was a fantastic experience. Playing in the state tournament 4 times, playing 12 games at Rupp Arena. Fans in Kentucky, they don't forget players like that. And you know, I went to Marshall, which was in Huntington. It's not that far from Kentucky, and fortunately my senior year I got to come back to Rupp Arena and play against the University of Kentucky. I figured I would get booed a little bit, because I mean, I know how Kentucky fans are, you know, but my coach takes me out of the game. I get a standing ovation from the Kentucky fans, and I'm thinking, there's no way this can happen. And you know, but Kentucky fans are like that. They remember the players, especially high school. I mean, high school basketball is crazy in Kentucky, and you know, I wouldn't change a thing about my high school or college basketball career. I wouldn't change anything about it.
Sharon Garland, Laurel County High School. Sharon Garland led her Laurel County Cardinals to 3 consecutive state championships, where she was a leading scorer for all 3 games. No other player in girls' state tournament history has won 3 state championships and led their team in scoring for those games. Sharon was a 3-time All-State and All-State tournament team member. She completed her very successful basketball career at Western Kentucky University.
We had this big tree in the backyard that had a basketball goal on it. It was a huge tree. And my brother, who's 5 years older, my brother Ron, had friends in the neighborhood, and they would always play. And I just remember wanting to go out there and play. My dad and our neighbor, his name was Jack No, he would play with the guys. And so he would always let me play on his team. So the guys weren't real happy that they had to have this little sister out there, but I played with them, and I just always remember loving basketball. In 6th grade, the boys had a team. Well, the principal being the coach and all, and I assumed because I was tall, I wanted to try out. He let us be on the team. Now, there were some parents that weren't real happy, but I think probably because I was taller, I was pretty good, I guess. His name was Lynn Sasser. He told the parents that were unhappy that girls were playing. He said, well, if they're better than the boys, they're going to play. And he let us play. He said, now, before you finish high school, there'll be girls basketball, and you'll be able to play on a girls team. And I just remember thinking, oh wow, would that not be wonderful? I do remember one thing that was funny was when we did shirts and skins at practice. Of course, when I was on the skins team, I had to go buy like flesh-colored T-shirts. That's how we handled that situation. Coach Bowen thought, well, might as well start with them young. So he did, and we stayed together. The majority of us were together probably at least 3 years, maybe 4. We just kind of knew each other so well that I think And Coach Bowen was big on fundamentals. We didn't do fancy things. We just did the fundamentals well, and we liked each other, and it just all kind of fell into place. You know, we didn't have a lot of injuries. We just had a lot of things that were, I guess you might say the stars were lined up or whatever, but it just all kind of fell into place. And the people in the county loved, you know, they would all go to Richmond, and it kind of became just something we always did, you know. After we did it those 3 years, it just, people got used to going, and you probably could have not found too many lights on in London during the state tournament. I think everybody went. The first one, I think we were just in shock. Then when we played Breathitt County in the second, we were shocked, I think, that we got that far again. The third year came around, when I was a senior, we were not going to lose our senior year. A lot of people met us there at Livingston, which is like 9 miles out of town, 8 or 9 miles, and we had this big long line of cars behind us. I was pretty consistent. I was cool-headed. I tried to keep my head, and I tried to be a leader. That very first state tournament, we drew Corbin as our first round game. I remember I had the most points I'd ever scored, 30 points, and I had 16 rebounds. Well, Coach Bowen said I was just unconscious that game, and I think I was, because I don't remember missing many shots. We won as a team, and it was for the people of the county. It was for us, but you know, we were representing our county, and I always feel like that was some of the best times ever. My family, my mom and dad, and you know, they were always my biggest supporters. I lost my mom a year ago, January, and you know, that's been hard. She was always my biggest cheerleader. My dad always said, if you start something, you finish it, you know, but they always encouraged me, always. In college, high school, my sister Jan, my brother Ron was always at the games, my grandparents, and you know, just all my family. And Coach Bowen just kind of was an extension of that. Like I said, he was kind of like a second dad. And Mary Jo, and we spent a lot of summers playing ball in their front yard. I feel honored to be part of it. It's kind of like a dream come true to be anything to do with basketball. Like I said, you know, it's always just been something I've loved, and I couldn't ask for anything better.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paintsville's finest, J.R. VanHoose. Once again, the ring is presented by Mr. Greg Mead of Citizens National Bank of Paintsville.
And please welcome 2013 Hall of Fame inductee Sharon Garland.
Would you all please give another round of applause for J.R. VanHoose and Sharon Garland. It's a pleasure for me to introduce the next inductees because both of my parents grew up in Winchester and actually went to Clark County High School. So I feel like I've heard so many stories about these next two that I feel like everyone in Clark County knows something about these two, young or old, either way. I think everyone is familiar with these two names. So one of them coached his way to a state championship in 1951 while the other one played. So I think it's really fantastic that the two are going into this hall together tonight. So next up is our Cardinal connection, Coach Letcher Norton and Linville Puckett.
Coach Letcher Norton, Clark County High and Trapp High Schools. For 3 decades, Coach Letcher Norton developed outstanding players, producing great teams. This coaching legend began his career at Trapp High School prior to serving in World War II as a Marine Sergeant stationed in the South Pacific. With those polished leadership skills, he took the reins of Clark County High School program, leading the Cardinals to 8 regional championships, winning the state title in 1951 and a runner-up finish in 1950. He was named State Coach of the Year 3 times and won a total of 575 games during his career.
He was an icon. He was a coach and one of the best that's ever coached high school basketball. He did so in an era of other great coaches that had mutual respect for each other.
Letcher was a people person to start with, you know, and his players, all of them loved him to death. Now, he was tough. Now, listen, he would get you in the physical condition to run. I mean, you know, there wasn't no giving up or "Tar, take me out, coach." You played every how long he wanted you in there. The guys loved him. They'd run through that wall for him. Back in those days, we were in the 16th region, and most of the schools played rather slow ball. But listen, if we didn't score 100 points back then in high school, that was unheard of. And we scored lots of 100 points in lots of games. And we knew how to fast break. I guess I'd have to go back to my junior year. We were playing in a state tournament, and we run into Cliff Hagan and company from Owensboro. And we couldn't handle Cliff.
You know, he's a former Marine and carried himself that way. And some of the practices, especially in the summer, could be indicative of his background in the Marines. We ran a set of fundamentals, offensive drills that he started every practice with until the last day I coached in 1987. That's how we began our practices.
We're sitting there at home one night playing, I don't even remember who it was, and I'm sitting there and time has run out. It's time for the game to start. And I'm going to keep the clock. And here comes Letcher running up through the gym. He says, "Howard," he says, "get up." He says, "You're going to referee tonight." I said, "I'm what?" He says, "Yeah, you're going to referee." He said, "George Conley is out here," and George was refereeing. His partner didn't show up. He said, "You're going to referee." I said, "No, yeah, I got your shirt and shoes." He said, "Come on." He said, "I'll take you over to the commissioner's office in the morning and get your license. So we'll make everything legal." Well, that got my refereeing career started.
Mr. Norton's a great family person too. He had a wonderful wife that was at his side and traveled to every game. And during my playing days, the last 2 years, his son Steve was always on the bus. He had a good friend named David Codell, and the two of them got to experience some things that I hope they remember fondly.
He'd probably tell you, "Well, look, guys, I don't deserve it. There's much other people out there." He'd like to be remembered as a guy who, you know, who really took care of his players. He taught them. He didn't only teach them how to play basketball. He told them how to, you know, what life was all about, you know. And probably that's what he'd like to be remembered by.
I'm fortunate that I got to spend time with him in my adult life and continued to seek his wisdom. But during my time of growing up in Clark County, other than my father, no one had more influence or impact on me. And I could tell you that there are multiple young people that would say the same thing.
He was a super person, he was a gentleman, and always a true sportsman.
Linville Puckett, Clark County. Linville Puckett was the last of his 7 brothers to play for Clark County High School, where he led the Cardinals to win the 1951 state championship, scoring 26 points in the final game. He was a 3-time All-State player and captain of the All-State teams his junior and senior years. He also made the All-State tournament team in 1950, 51, and 53. He accepted a basketball scholarship to the University of Kentucky, playing on the 1954 Wildcats team that finished 24-0.
I was raised about 6 miles out of Winchester, and about 3 miles from Boonesboro. We had an old dirt court there and a little 4-room schoolhouse. I had 6 brothers and 2 sisters. That's where it started from, right there. All of us went through that little house. You know, at Clark County, one of us boys played from 1928 to 1952. One time there was 3 of us, yeah. And I was the last. I hung out in the tobacco patch in the hayfield, and we stripped grass seed. We all worked. I just had brothers that they beat me around pretty good when we just playing, you know, for fun. And 3 of us boys got scholarships to colleges from playing basketball. It's just kind of a gift for me to play ball. I don't know, it just seems so easy to me. It wasn't hard on me, and nobody could outrun me as far as practice, they would be their tongue hanging out. I was ready to go. That's just physical condition. That's what it was. And some of those guys was old city boys. And it was a lot of fun, though, I'll tell you that. We had one of the best little teams going. You know, we all got together in the 4th grade. And then we went on through high school together, and it just seemed like it was just one person, you know. It wasn't me, it was a team. Coach Norton was, man, he was tough when you went to practice. But when it was over, it's just kind of like another brother. I know Lewis and I, after practice, we'd have to walk, you know, home after practice of the night. Lewis Snowden, he lived 14 miles out and I lived 6. Anybody would pick you up, but nobody was driving. So Letcher said one day, he said, boys, said, y'all walking home, said, here, take these 2 balls, just dribble while you're going.
Is that right?
Yeah. What he wanted us to do, dribbling balls on. I think all those coaches thought a lot of each other. Bill Trivett, Piper, and Ralph Carlisle, and Earl Jones. You know, it was a bunch of good coaches back then. They all cared a lot about each other than the night we played. And then it was dog eat dog that night. Yeah. People followed us. We'd have to go to Pikeville. It'd take a half day to get up there. That was their entertainment, you know, the basketball. I think that's the year I broke the high school scoring record, I think, in '51. We beat Cuba in the finals, 25 points. Letcher, he was a pretty smart coach. They tried to do the Globetrotters deal, you know, out there to the boys. This first half, they're going to show off. Just beat their butts off. I think Letcher's big success, though, was physical condition. See, he come out of the Marines, and about 45 minutes before we started practice, we did calisthenics. And I'm talking about, have you ever done the duck walk from one end of a gym to another? That's the way we won games. We just wore people out. Oh, Lord, it was fun. Yeah, we had a big time. The 50s were the best years of my life. Big honor, you know, to have this done while you're still above ground.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, accepting on behalf of his late father, Letcher Norton, please welcome Steve Norton. Mr. Graham Johns is here tonight representing Codell Construction of Winchester, presenting the ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in congratulating Linville Puckett. So I guess all those stories I'm hearing about Linville Puckett are true.
You know, just like this, Kentucky high school basketball is full of stories about great duos, and we hear about them in sports all the time. And that's where we'll take our next turn in just a minute. But Christy, the interesting thing about this is we talk about this centennial class. All these classes in the first several years leading up to 2018, that's the 100-year anniversary of high school basketball in the state of Kentucky, and all the folks who are being inducted up until that time will be known as part of the centennial class.
It's pretty amazing. It's remarkable company. I was actually doing a little bit of research as we were getting ready for this, and something that stuck out to me that I really found so unbelievable are the coaches that are being inducted tonight. They have a combined 2,762 wins among them. it's remarkable. They also have 10 state titles. I mean, this is some pretty good company that we're keeping here.
They're all very mobile, too. Like somebody
They
like
are.
Curtis, he's probably coached everybody in this room at all the different stops that he's had.
Not bad, not bad. That's right.
It is an incredible group, and I hope that one thing, and we've talked with Curtis, and we've talked with Ken Trivett and some others about this. I hope that these stills are so great. You know, we're also accustomed to high definition TV now and the video and everything, but these still pictures are so great. And one thing that I hope happens, and what a great venue for something like this and something we can take into the schools. I hope that we do have this as like part of an audio visual sort of library, to make sure that these stories go on and that we can take them out to the schools and that people will understand not only what kind of great players, great coaches we've had, but what kind of great people they are as well.
Certainly part of the vision of this organization and this High School Basketball Hall of Fame is to do just that. So we want to make sure that we preserve this heritage and then certainly help the younger generations really understand what this has been all about. It really means something, and there's something really special about this. So that's really part of what this organization is all about.
And the whole beauty of this High School Basketball Hall of Fame and the beauty of high school basketball in this state is, you heard Butch talk about it earlier on his video. It doesn't make any difference whether you're from a big city like Louisville or whether you're from one of the smallest towns in the state of Kentucky. Once you get to that state tournament and that high school basketball, it's kind of the glue for everybody. And this is a perfect example as we talk about our next two inductees, a dynamic duo that features a soft-spoken, sweet shooter from Hazard and a city boy. And the two of these guys turned out to be pretty good fiddlers.
Johnny Cox, Hazard High School. With a sweeping hook shot and one-handed jumper, Johnny Cox is one of the all-time greats in Kentucky basketball history. In 1955, he led his Hazard High School Bulldogs to a state championship, scoring 32 points in the final game. His 127 points for the tournament put him in an elite class, earning him all-tournament team honors. In 1955, he achieved All-State and Mr. Basketball titles. He played for the University of Kentucky Wildcats, where he was a member of the Fiddlin' Five National Championship teams.
Born and raised in Neon, Kentucky. He lived upon the side of a hill, and that's where I first started playing basketball. I had a goal up on the side of a hill, didn't have no net or nothing on it. My brother put a goal in the place where we used to dump coal. And we had a basketball, about half full and the other half empty. So we didn't have much equipment back in to play with. Started school at Neon there. We had back in them days, we didn't have men coaches. We had all women and all the coaches. Had a teacher named Essie Potter, a great big tall woman. She's the one that really got me started out in basketball. I believe I was about 10 years old in the 5th grade. We got to the end of the season and said, boy, you're a pretty good player. She said, someday they may be a star in your crown. I said, what's a star in your crown? And I was only 10 years old. Went out for the high school team. I was in 8th grade. All the rest of the kids older than me, but I could play as good as they could. Well, we had a man for a coach. Went out for the team and started the season practicing. We got up practice about a month, and coach come to me one day and said, son, you have to turn your suit in. So you never be no player. I said, what? I said, I thought I was going to be good. My teacher told me I'd be a star someday. He said, no. I said, you just ain't got it. The best thing you can do is turn your suit in and I'll make you be a manager. That way I hurt my feelings bad. I went home crying. I was in 8th grade. My sister got after me for crying. I said, well, I got cut off the team. Well, I said, if he makes me a manager, I'll get to stay in the gym and watch him play and practice. So I was a manager for a whole year. As a kid, that's all we did was play basketball. I was in basketball, a year around. Hate to leave because we've been going to school with the same kids from the 1st grade to the 11th. So it sort of hurt when you had to leave, But then I worked on the railroad and they closed the shop up there, so we had to leave. Well, it hurts you. It missed the whole year, especially when you get to be in the 11th grade. That's when when your game starts coming around then. But I didn't get to play, so I had to watch. Started out real slow, but we, improved as the season went on. We played all the good teams around. We didn't play no teams that wasn't too good. All the guys on the team played a whole lot better than they did during the season. Myself, I didn't think I played any better than they did during the season, but We all played good and played well. I mean, on the way home, you know, we had a big celebration. I know people got all excited over it. And the community did, fans and the community. Got a letter from Adolf that they offered me a scholarship and wanted to come. So me and my mother and daddy went to Lexington. The mother was a spokesperson. she talked to Adolf about everything. And so I got to UK, it's a good place to be, good school, fan base, tremendous there, still is. I enjoyed basketball, I enjoyed playing. And been a lot of places I've never been, but I haven't been with basketball. I've been all over the country playing with hundreds of thousands of people. I got friends everywhere. The UK got fans everywhere, all over the country. I still get fan mail from people. I got some here the other day from somebody from France.
Billy Ray Lickert, Lafayette High School. In 1957, Billy Ray Lickert led his Lafayette High School Generals to the state championship, netting a blistering 26 points. He was an All-State in 1956 and 57 and was named Mr. Basketball in 1957. He earned a scholarship to the University of Kentucky, where he was a member of the Fiddlin' Five national championship team.
Grew up in Lexington, went to Pickett Elementary School, Lafayette, of course, high school. And when you were in grade school, I mean, your dream was to play for Lafayette. The ultimate dream was to play for the Kentucky Wildcats. I have to attribute it all to Coach Carlisle. He was ahead of himself. And a lot of what people do today, Coach Carlisle had a handle on kids that were that far down in the third grade. He would have a camp, not a big camp, but a couple of weeks in the summertime, and we would go to camp, and he started working with us back at that time. Great time growing up in Lexington, great time to be at Lafayette High School. I was the luckiest guy in the world. I mean, here you get a chance to play. You know, a lot of people don't get that chance when you get to be a sophomore in high school. Now, Mr. Carlisle was just as demanding as Coach Rupp, such a perfectionist. You had to do repetitive everything and do it right. He became closer to the kids. Once you were on the court, just like Coach Rupp, it was all business. But off the court, as soon as we went through the door to the dressing room after practice, he would help you with your homework. He'd take you home. He'd pick you up in the morning, take you to school. He always kept us pretty focused on what our goal was. Like I say, the goal at the beginning of the year, every year, is to win the state championship. We grew up pretty much all together from grade school on up. So we were a team. My language wasn't always the best at times back in those days, and I had a little temper, and I'd get mad, and I would blurt things out. Well, Donnie Duval and Gerald Denny, one day in practice when my temper got the best of me, they talked to me after practice and says, "We think you need to clean your language up a little bit. We don't think that's proper conduct, and I'll try to do better." So something happened in the next practice or something, and I was about ready to blurt out something, and I said, "Oh, fruitcakes." So from then on, that kind of became the, you know, when I would get mad, everybody talked fruitcakes, you know, when I was about to say something. I still think you ought to have 5 basketball players. I don't think you ought to have a point guard. I don't like 1, 2s, and 3s. I think you ought to be able to play the game. And we were all about the same size, pretty interchangeable. We could play multiple positions. I've had a little problem with my leg here recently. 2 of the teammates, Gerald Denny and Donnie Duval, came to visit me, and we were talking about basketball today and basketball from 60 or 50 or 60 years ago. That was a great time to grow up, great time to go to Lafayette High School. And I said, I don't know if these kids, when they're out of school 50 or 60 years, will have 2 former teammates come to visit. You know. Well, I was a basketball player, like I say, and played the game the way it was supposed to be played. the way I was taught. I was a good teammate, representing my family, the schools, to the best of my ability.
Our newest inductee into the 2013 Hall of Fame, Johnny Cox. Presenting the ring tonight, Mr. Graham Johns of Codell Construction out of Winchester.
Come on over here. And please welcome 2013 Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Billy Ray Lickert.
So coming up next is somebody that was actually in my era of basketball. I grew up in Campbellsville and played basketball at Taylor County High School. So a lot of folks in that time, I played at Campbellsville from 93 to 97. So around that time, there was a lot of chatter about this Jaime Walz, which is pretty good. I remember thinking at the time, where is she from? And Northern Kentucky seemed like it was so far away. Even growing up in Campbellsville, I felt like that was so far, felt like it was so far away. And then I remember thinking, wonder if she would come to Campbellsville. Yeah, probably not. Probably not so much. But there was so much talk about her and about her game, and it was really pretty unbelievable and pretty remarkable what she was able to accomplish. And then, of course, the other person being inducted next was, as you will hear, the state's first Miss Basketball. So I feel like we're talking about a situation, a scenario where these are people that are really paving the way for people like me and then for people like Jaime to have such successful careers on the high school level. It's really unbelievable. So as someone who has played the game at the high school level here in Kentucky, it means a lot to me to be able to introduce to you our Northern Stars, Jaime Walz-Richey and Donna Murphy.
Jaime Walz-Richey, Highlands High School. In 1996, Jaime Walz-Richey was named as Parade Magazine's National Player of the Year, Gatorade Circle of Champions recipient, as well as Kentucky's Miss Basketball. As the leader of the Fort Thomas Highland Bluebirds, Jaime still holds the state record as Kentucky's all-time leading career scorer with 4,948 points. Jaime continued her prestigious basketball career for the Western Kentucky University Hilltoppers.
I was lucky, that my father was the athletic director when I was growing up. So, I was a little girl that got to go to all the games, all the football games, all the basketball games, soccer games. So, it was neat to grow up in such a small town, be able to go back there and teach now, to be a part of that still, it's a great feeling that, I cherish every day. My mother, Janine Taney, was a great tennis player for Bellevue that went on and won, I think, 5 regional championships when she played. And, a lot of people think I got all my athletic ability from my father, but, I have to give some credit to my mother. I remember going to my brother's games. I was a little tomboy that always brought her basketball and that would go out during timeouts and shoot, or always brought my glove to baseball games trying to catch a foul ball or to find somebody to toss. So, and with my father, one of my memories I remember with my dad is going to the girls' state tournament when Highlands went, and I was probably only, 10. So I was around sports, but I loved it, but fortunately my parents never pushed it on me. They just let me do whatever I wanted to and play whatever I wanted to. I guess I was maybe in 3rd grade when I was approached by one of my parents' friends approached, and they had some sons that were in my grade, and they wanted me to play on their baseball team. So I played baseball, not whole baseball, with a bunch of boys, and that same group of boys decided to play on a basketball team, so they asked me there. So I played with boys on baseball team and basketball team all the way up until my 7th grade year. I think it was going in my 7th grade year, I tried out for an AAU team over in Ohio. And I think there was 250 girls. And you know, I made the best team. As a family, we realized just, you know, how much potential I had and how good I could be. A lot of people said I was like a quarterback out on the, you know, court, kind of like my father, just because I could see things. So I think right there is when I, you know, figured out I could be a really good basketball player if I kept working at it. I had to credit Jackie Beard, and she was really, you know, a big influence in women's basketball in Northern Kentucky, along with Donna Murphy. You know, those two, you know, were great women's basketball players that helped pave the way for us. Breaking the scoring record in UC Shoemaker's up there, but just going to the state tournament 3 times, being a state runner-up my sophomore year, you know, being as a coach now that haven't, you know, as a coach I haven't been to the state tournament. I understand how hard it is to get there. To look back my sophomore year to make it all the way, I had played with 7 seniors that year. We were all homegrown kids. You know, losing the championship, yes, it stunk, but you know, those memories will last forever. Typical game for me would be I would bring the ball up the court against the press, give it to the true point guard, and then go off a bunch of screens to get shots. I was a great outside shooter. I had range from anywhere. I made a lot of threes just because, you know, I was pretty far out and they would leave me open. Make great passes to teammates that were open, and, you know, all-around player. I wanted to make sure that, you know, I was going to be a leader on and off the court and for my teammates and for my family. Very lucky to have, I had such great supportive parents. And then, you know, definitely my brothers, you know, they were at every game they could be, you know, high school game, college game, they were at every game that they could make it to. My grandfather, he's 91. He remembers things from when I played better than I do. You know, my AAU coaches, my high school coaches, Coach Higgins, Coach Dobson, Coach Cecil, all the fans that would come out and support me. And that made my high school career, to come out on the court to see a packed house. I credit myself a little bit to, you know, helping get more people in the stands in, you know, girls basketball in the Northern Kentucky area. You know, I still have people come up to me and say, you know, you're the best girls basketball player I've ever seen play. And, you know, that I take pride in that, knowing that, you know, I've got some of those people to come to girls basketball games I probably wouldn't have.
Donna Murphy, Newport High School. Donna Murphy's basketball skills helped propel the enthusiasm of the early days of high school girls basketball. Her fluid motion, leaping ability, and left-handed jump shot garnered her selection as the 1975 state tournament's most valuable player. In the Newport Wildcats' 2 games at that tournament, she scored 67 points and grabbed 50 rebounds. She was named Kentucky's first Miss Basketball in 1976, as well as a recipient of the Joe Billy Mansfield Award for Academic and Athletic Achievement. As an all-state performer, she went to Morehead State University, where she led the Eagles to OVC championships.
I remember when I was 12, I was wandering out in my neighborhood, and I grew up in the projects in Newport. I saw some fellas shooting ball. They were high school age. I had seen it on television a little bit, but the only sport that was watched at my house on television was big-time wrestling. That was my father's favorite. I remember running home, getting my brother's basketball. I sat in the swing, and I just swung and swung and swung until it started getting dark and the guys left. And then I went out and tried to put the ball in the hole. I was shooting it from the hip and getting a little frustrated because it wouldn't go in. And when it went in the first time, I was hooked. I was hooked because it challenged me. And then from that day on, every day after I got home from school, did my chores and homework. I lived on the court. I'd go home and eat, and I'd come back until it was dark. I did that every single day. One of my neighbors, Tony, took an interest in me because I was taller than a lot of the guys when I was 12. And he saw I could jump. So he figured I could just rebound for them. So he was bold. He was the first one who allowed me to play. But I got tired of just rebounding for everybody. So I worked on my shot. I started watching Dr. J, I'd watch Earl to Pearl Monroe. All these fellas that I played with, these were boys and men. I've had people tell me they used to think I was, you know, something was wrong with me. I just always thank the good Lord. He gave me the talent, but you know, I wasn't born dribbling or shooting. But he gave me also wisdom to make good choices and to use what I had. That was how I found myself. I was a pretty quiet kid and very introverted, and that was how I expressed myself, I think, through playing the game, and it opened up a lot of doors beyond what I had ever imagined. I'd practiced all summer long with the fellas, getting ready to try out for the middle school team. I had my sweatband, wristbands, I was good to go. Most of the people who showed up at the tryouts had street shoes on. Some of them had skirts. And I was very frustrated and upset because this is the first time I played with girls. I left the court. Miss B coming over, asking me what the problem was, and I told her this is not basketball. Now I was 12, 13 years old. And she said, well, if you think you can do any better, then you get out there, you get them together. And I said, okay. And put them in a 2-3 zone. And the offense was give me the ball. And that was all. And we didn't lose a game in middle school. So I think that was organized ball. And that was my first experience coaching. I remember they started covering women's basketball. In 1975, they had me ranked number 7. And I took that as a, okay, challenge. Challenge is on. There were 4 seniors on the team when I was a junior. We went and got 5 of our male friends. We met up at the middle school every day that summer before. And that was the team that went to the state tournament. I remember the first game, and all I know is I wanted to win, and I remember going out there, and I scored 42 points or so, and we won the game. I was just on a mission. We got beat in the next game by Butler. They announced that they were going to give a presentation, and they gave me the Ted Sanford Award, which has never been given to another women's since me. They changed it to Billy Mansfield after that. And I remember at that moment, and just looking around, I thought, they finally accept the fact that I can play this game. Whenever I've allowed myself to get into something, I'm 100% committed. I guess that's something, too, my mother instilled in me. She was a stickler. If you're going to do it right. She was on me about, getting my education, following different routines, trying to make sure that I had what I needed to be able to be successful.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 2013 Hall of Fame inductee, Jaime Walz-Richey. The ring is being presented tonight by Ms. Marilyn Ford, the President and COO, and Mr. Scott Conway, the CEO of First Citizens Bank.
And ladies and gentlemen, our next inductee, Donna Murphy.
Donna, I think Big Time Wrestling Never Got Its Due is a great show. I was right there watching with you. Congratulations to you both. We've heard a lot tonight about coaches and about wins, and the totals are just kind of eye-popping. And it's no coincidence that so many of the great coaches come from the same area, come from the same school, because once somebody gets it going, then those competitive juices you just heard about, somebody else wants to get it going as well. And that takes us to a pair of coaches who combined for 1,331 wins and about 25 or so regional championships. The Western Kentucky legends, Howard Beth and Bobby Watson.
Coach Howard Beth, Marshall County High. The girls' basketball program at Marshall County High School was the epitome of success under the coaching of Howard Beth. During his tenure, Coach Beth's teams won 11 consecutive regional championships, played in 3 state championship games, winning state titles in 1982 and 84. The Marshalls were 34-0 in 1984. The team was state runner-up in 1981. Coach Beth's 794 career victories are the most for any girls coach in Kentucky high school basketball history.
I had to work hard. I grew up for 8 years in Kansas, and I went to a one-room school, and Daddy lived on a farm, which we just barely made enough money. If we didn't shoot it or grow it, we didn't need it, basically. That's how I grew up. My father had a lot of influence on me, and I don't think he ever gave me any advice the whole time I coached. I was JV boys coach here for 4 years, and then the girls' job come open, and I wanted to be a head coach, and so I took it, and it was, kind of a stretch when I took girls basketball, because it was, at that time, I thought it was boring, and there was a lot of jump balls and tie-ups and stuff like that, and I thought, well, I'm going to go in there and coach basketball in girls just like we do in boys. And so at that, I took the girls' job and have never really regretted anything since that time. They weren't used to pressing, they weren't in condition, they didn't run the fast break, I didn't feel like it. I think that they was all capable of doing those things, so we come in and didn't have the fan support. I knew that when I went into it with the first tournament we went to without Tillman, and I think they sent us a bill for the money because there wasn't enough attendance to pay the officials. And I thought, and then at the end of the year, we went to the state tournament and went all the way to the finals, and we were just totally emotionally drained after we got to that point. But all of our fans got caught on board and went along board, and then the next 30 years was just a joyride, really. The year before we wanted it so bad and didn't win it, most of the kids was back. And so we had that. We'd gone to the LIT that year and got beaten LIT 2 games, come back and adjusted, went to the state tournament and got to beat both of the teams that beat us in the LIT in the state tournament, which was a very satisfying thing. The year we went undefeated, that's quite an accomplishment to win both the LIT and the state tournament in the same year, to go undefeated in Kentucky. As far as the individual players, there were so many individual players. I think the biggest thing in basketball that kids learn is accepting that maybe you're not the best. And that's hard to accept. That's something that, especially from your parents' viewpoint and from everybody like that, they have to learn to accept, hey, I may not be the best on my team, we may not be the best team, and you have to learn to accept that. It allows them to show their leadership, the ones that really want to work. We were expecting to win because we felt like we worked harder than anybody else. We were supposed to win. We'd worked harder than anyone. Whoever we played, it didn't make any difference. We were going to work harder than that team, and so that allowed us to go out there with the confidence I think we needed to try to win our ball games. If you play basketball for a good program and you're expected to win, you learn to handle the pressure from the coach, the pressure from the parent, the pressure from the fans, the pressure from how they call the basketball game. You have to get along with other people in life. And you've got certain people that are leaders and you've got certain people that aren't leaders. They're on a basketball team, and when you get out in life competing for jobs, the people that were the stars on the basketball team, a lot of times they're going to be the people that's going to step out in front. So it prepares them for life to be able to be in charge of a corporation, to do something that's a little different than the people that just go out and work for a living. I think that the fans out here probably influenced me more than anything else. When you get the kind of support that I had after the first year, then that makes you want to do good and you appreciate what you're doing, and they seem to appreciate me. The satisfaction that I got from coaching was much more than anything else. I love to coach, I love the kids, I love to teach, and just the idea that I had an opportunity, hopefully, to influence someone's life in a positive manner would probably be the best thing that I could think of.
Coach Bobby Watson, Owensboro High School. Coach Bobby Watson was an all-state guard for the Owensboro High School Red Devils and had an outstanding career under Coach Rupp at the University of Kentucky. But his true legacy was fulfilled as a coach of his alma mater. Coach Watson's Red Devils won 14 regional championships and 2 state titles in 1972 and 1980. He recorded 537 wins during his career. His favorite coaching motto was, "On the fields of athletic competition are sown the seeds that in later years will bear the fruit of success."
Playing under Coach Watson, we were honored, we were privileged, and we loved every minute of it.
I can remember going out for varsity my freshman year, and I can remember just the awe, the intimidation. I quickly found out that we settled into a routine. Coach Watson was a great teacher of the game of basketball, and he was just a good man who did things right, and we were very well schooled and a very well disciplined team.
When he was at practice, everything was set. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 10 minutes, and we knew what we were supposed to do.
I had the great privilege of playing for him for 4 years as a varsity player, and I think my senior year I knew almost exactly what we were going to do next.
I think we were the first team that Coach Watson took to the state tournament, 1960. I remember in the locker room before the last game, it was a consolation game, and Coach Watson looked at me and some of the other seniors and he said, "Do you realize this is the last game you'll ever play for Owensboro High School?" It's very emotional, and We loved to play for him, enjoyed every second.
I felt like we were always treated with respect. We made mistakes, obviously, as young adolescents. What we got from Coach Watson in those years was a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline. And, you know, he used to say, hey, you work hard, good Lord will take care of the rest.
We respected him so much as players, not only as a teacher, as a coach, as a businessman in the community. We did not want to disappoint him.
My freshman year when I went out, and I can remember after that first practice, I thought I was going to die. And he kind of went like that, and so I ran over to him, and he said, I just want to thank you for working so hard today. And you know, it's that. You came back the next day and you wanted to, you know, please Coach Watson. It was out of respect.
He is the epitome of Kentucky high school basketball. I mean, he played it, he was All-State, he went on and played for his state university. He came back to his hometown where he started and helped young men and young women in that community. I mean, he is the epitome of Kentucky high school coaching.
I can't imagine there could ever be a better coach and a better teacher than Coach Watson. He was just a wonderful teacher of the game of basketball, and he just did everything right. His whole life has been a testament.
Thank you, Coach Watson, for everything you've meant to me and to our family. Because without your influence and without your help, none of what I have or what my family has would have been possible.
The hard work and the discipline that we learned from, you know, Coach Watson and my dad, it's the vehicle that carried us places, and we owe a lot to them. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please congratulate Coach Howard Beth. Coach Beth's ring is presented by Miss Marilyn Ford and Mr. Scott Conway of First Citizens Bank.
And 2013 Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Bobby Watson.
Dave, I have to tell you about Coach Beth playing at Taylor County High School. We always attended basketball camp at Campbellsville College at the time, and you know how when you start camp, you get that list of who you're going to play and what your schedule is and what's going on, and every single year, we went all 4 years I was in high school, and every single year, we all crossed our fingers that we did not have Marshall County on our schedule. I've never seen kids my age play basketball like that, so they just would run you out of the gym. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything quite like it. So we were scared to death of you, Coach. Scared to death.
And it only happened for 30 years. It was just a passing thing.
For good reason. It was amazing. It was absolutely unbelievable. Well, of course, small schools are just one of the many things that are so great, in my opinion, about the Sweet 16 basketball tournament. And basketball in Kentucky, as we've said before, is so special. And these two gentlemen helped change the game in the Bluegrass on that small school level. So they're actually our small school giants, Howard Crittenden and Joe Fulks.
Howard Crittenden, Cuba High School. One of the finest dribblers and ball handlers of all time, Howard Crittenden was a crowd pleaser at the 1951 and 52 state tournaments. Named to the All-Tournament and All-State teams both seasons, He helped lead his Cuba Cubs to win the state crown in 1952, saying that was one of his biggest athletic thrills. He continued to showcase his talent at Murray State University, where he set numerous scoring records for the Racers.
I still have never seen anybody that would handle the ball better than how he did in his heyday. I seen him in the ball game, turn loose of the ball. He'd be here like this and bring it back between his legs and bounce it 2 or 3 times with his butt. Have the ball going up and down just to make somebody mad. And he would get players that would guard him so mad at him. He had a good jump shot. He'd come down and I'd come through in hard times, you know, when you needed to. We'd like to see Howard, but then especially at the end of the ball game, you wasn't Howard Crittenden to have the basketball. I remember a story of Joe Buddy Warren at a timeout. Be ready now if they triple team, double team Howard. So you're going to have to be ready to get that ball back. And Joe Buddy turned around to Howard and said, "Don't throw that damn thing to me."
Coach Story prepared us for the state tournament our senior year by playing all over the state. He was the principal and the coach. So we played 9 games in 10 days, coming from Western Kentucky up here, playing in the doubleheader against Manual, ending up in the Louisville Invitational Tournament. Probably one of the best games that we played in the state tournament either year would be when we played University High right here. That was our second game of the state tournament. Was our best game overall because we all had a good game. The championship game of 1952, we played Louisville Manual, and we did not have a good ball game. I could not hit the basket the whole game. Now Doodle finally came around. He wasn't hitting it first, but he came around, saved us because he hit several hooks in there. Bill Pilot really came in, rebounded, and did a fine job. We were lucky to win. Being right here in Memorial Coliseum, and to think about, see the yell that the crowd really got with "Hey, hey, what do you say? Cuba, Cuba," all the way. And it wouldn't just be, because we didn't have very many people, see, in Grace County.
This whole Coliseum.
But the whole Coliseum, all the way around, all of the other people were yelling with us, for us. It was unreal. So it had to help us. In 1958, I was selected as one of the 12 players to represent the United States and go to Russia. We stayed over there a month and played the Russian team, won every game. All of that's exciting. But the true excitement that I remember is winning the state tournament. I really think it's because that you were with true friends and with the guys that you grew up with, like Doodle and I from 2nd grade on, who you truly loved. And then the fans who were loyal fans who followed us wherever we would go. And they didn't have money. They didn't have money to come up here and stay in the hotels and to the game. But they followed us, and they came and supported us. And we knew that if we didn't win, they still loved us. But we just gave everything we had, and all of that excitement. And then the people in Kentucky who rallied around us in the state tournament, both years, rallied around us. And the style of play, our warm-up, they still remember all of that. That is true support. In college, you have some real fine support, but it's not that kind of support. After college, when you're playing, it's all, you got to do it. You're playing because you love the game, but you're playing also because you're there. That's a career for you at the time. But high school and state tournament, it's just something you never forget. High school is true love and support. And they mean it, it's their heart. They're giving their heart when they yell for you. So it was just tremendous excitement.
Joe Fulks, Catawba High School. Joe Fulks, recognized by his coach as the Babe Ruth of basketball, modernized the game with his skillmanship and finesse more than any player before him. His evolution of the one-handed jump shot gave him legendary status. His senior year, he led the Lions to the Sweet 16, later becoming a basketball star for the Murray State Racers and the NBA, scoring 63 points in one game.
Jumpin' Joe Fulks went on to become a great player at Murray State and went into the NBA and had a long career in the NBA. He is given credit with being one of the first players to shoot and master the jump shot.
Seeking out a string of catfish from the banks of this Kentucky lake was about all Joe cared about before discovering basketball. He was the tallest kid his age in his tiny hometown and would soon gain notoriety by helping Catawba High to the Kentucky State Tournament. Some say he was the best high school player of his time in this basketball-crazed state.
I was 6'2", and so I'd stand on a little stool about a foot tall. That made me 7'2". And Watkins was only 5'6", but he'd stand on a stool, and Joe would shoot over us. Of course, no motion there. we just held up our hands, in other words. So he loved to stay in that gym and practice.
Joe was always there when it come to time to play basketball. Now, I don't care if he had a broken ankle or he'd be there. And I don't know of any game that he ever missed while he was in here at Murray State.
So many articles refer to Joe as the Babe Ruth of basketball, the guy that would pack them in as you went around the league.
The league was a new league, and everybody, we all ourselves had no idea what was going to happen. And as he started scoring these points, you know, the publicity got around the league, and there were people came out, you know, to see this fella from Kentucky, and nobody had heard of him before. Joe and I played 8 years together. We started together and we finished together. I never heard of Joe ever say that he was good at this or good at that. He never talked about that, and really, he was a pretty quiet fellow. And he had a homespun humor. I know he was always trying to explain to us what was the difference between a critter and a varmint. I still don't know what the difference was. I know one was meaner than the other.
Because he was a great player. He was one of the guys that started this league moving in the right direction. The first time I saw him, you know, he was throwing these unorthodox type of shots. It was either from a standing position underneath the basket and jump around and turn and put it in, or he'd take these one-handers from the side. And that just wasn't customary in those days, and it was just unusual, and it certainly lit up our eyes. It lit up our eyes because many of them went in the basket.
Joe's best link to basketball was watching his teenage son perform.
About the time I was a junior in high school, and we had a pretty good high school team, and there's started to be some notoriety. And like I said, this gentleman from Courier Journal came down and was doing some articles on father-sons. And I said, this is pressure. My brother and I would dress up in his old uniforms and all those things. Those are fond memories. Get out in the backyard and shoot a little bit.
I think these little kids dribbling around the goals in the back of their houses would say to themselves, well, I might be a Joe Fulks someday.
Great stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, accepting on behalf of Howard Howie Crittenden, who's seriously ill, please welcome his good friend, Mr. Sid Easley. The ring is being presented by Miss Jan Rose Coleman of LG&E NKU.
And ladies and gentlemen, accepting on behalf of his late uncle, Joe Fulks, please welcome Joe's nephew, Mitchell McKinley.
Well, we hear a lot in this state about how things are passed down from generation to generation. A love of the game is certainly something that comes in that category. A respect for the game also comes in that category. We hear a lot about being professional and realizing what's at stake and having respect. And that's what this next category is all about. It involves a Ballard star who's one of the most recognizable players in the history of the Sweet 16, and a coach who's a winner of 856 career games and a pioneer in desegregation. Together they form our family affair.
Coach William Kean, Central High School. For 36 years, Coach William Kean coached high school boys basketball. He was a legend at Louisville Central High School and a pioneer for desegregation of athletics in Kentucky. Coach Kean's teams won 856 games and lost only 83. He led his Central High Yellow Jackets to 5 state basketball championships in Kentucky Basketball League and 4 national championships in the National Negro High School tournaments. Coach Kean is the grandfather of 2013 Kentucky High School basketball inductee Allan Houston.
We're in the legendary Central High School Gymnasium in Louisville, Kentucky. We're sitting with a former Central High School Yellow Jacket cheerleader, Alice Kean Houston.
The Central Yellow Jacket's gonna sting you.
That's it.
The Central Yellow Jacket's gonna sting you. And then I can't remember the rest. It says sting you. That enraged all of the basketball teams that we played over the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It was great.
Your father, of course, the legendary William L. Kean,
yes.
Who coached football, basketball,
yeah.
track and field.
Right. He was a tremendous role model and mentor, and the older I've gotten and been involved, you know, myself with Wade and Allan in athletics, I realized what a special man he was and what a special time that was. He would have been so proud that I continued the legacy of marrying a coach and would absolutely have been proud to see Allan compete and play in the biggest stage that there is now in both high school and college and in the NBA.
He was an exceptional coach. And Mr. Kean was a person that I was very fond of. He took us through regimens of execution to prepare us for our game. And also Mr. Kean was like a father figure to me. And Mr. Kean always taught us to education was first. And so I took that at hand. And also he said you have to be a good ball player about getting your rest, no drinking, no smoking, no messing around at night and all of that. So he'll let you know if you played well or not. But he always taught us that you could do better. I played in rain, sleet, or snow, and I wanted to be the best.
Comes back to Central High School because, you know, I came out of the projects over here and I didn't know what direction I was really going to go in when I finished high school. He showed me a way there was a light at the end of the tunnel. All I had to do was stick with it. And he pushed you on that. He was a disciplinarian too, and you know, no playful with him. I'd make him mad, but he'd get on me. You know, even though I was averaging 20-some points, he didn't care anything about that. You know, be a team player and do what you're supposed to do, go to school, get your grades, and graduate.
The Globetrotters, of course, were known for their antics. What did he ever have to say to you about playing with the Globetrotters?
Well, he told me you got a good job, so stay with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he said, you got a good job, and because of him, I followed through what he had instilled in me those 3 years, that it's going to be a better day for you. You know, that you know, you're not going to sit here and go out to work at a factory. You're going to get a degree. Number one, he was really concerned about your education. That was number one with him, and he said the basketball will come later.
We are a family that if we had a shield, it would be faith, love, and education would be the things on our shield. Daddy was instrumental in setting the foundation for all of that.
Allan Houston, with a Ballard Bruins 1987 runner-up finish and the 1988 state title, Allan Houston became one of the most recognized players in state championship game history. He was named to the All-State and All-State tournament teams for both years. In 1989, he was Kentucky's Mr. Basketball and earned All-American honors. He played collegiately at the University of Tennessee, starting all 4 years and setting several volunteer scoring records. He continued his successful career playing for the NBA New York Knicks.
Well, it's an unbelievable honor. Just being here in this building again brings back so many memories. And not just playing, but actually watching big games that I was fortunate enough to be a part of as my father was coaching. In '75, you know, I was 4 years old. I would go travel with mail on the bus. I remember, you know, Griff and Bobby Turner just doing 360s and all kind of things. But I didn't really appreciate at 5 how great they really were and how special, you know, that team and what was happening. You know, 9-year-old kid and your dad's team and the team that you go crazy about. goes to the Final Four 4 times, and they win it twice, and in a period of some of your most formidable years as a young man, and your dad is actually instructing and leading and guiding him and becoming a father figure to these guys. That's really what he tried to pass on to me, and even to this day, my son now is 12, and I have 7 children, and the biggest compliments that I get are from parents on his friends' teams, and they say, your kid's a good basketball player, but man, he's a great young man, a great kid. So to me, that's the legacy. Well, my freshman year at Ballard, we had Coach Don Salyer, and I played with a lot of all seniors, and he started me as a freshman. I think that was probably the first stage in my career where I thought a coach really took a chance with me and believed in me. My sophomore year, Coach Scotty Davenport came. We made it to the state tournament. It was almost like something happened, and my game just kind of went to another level. And I tell you, that's one of the turning points in my career is, being 15 years old, and then you're playing in front of 23,000 people. And I'll never forget, after that, we lost. Rex Chapman came and he said, "You're going to be a player. You just keep working hard." My belief in myself kind of took a huge leap after that state tournament. My junior year, we came back and played in here. And won the state championship here in Freedom Hall. We wanted to not only to win the state championship, but we wanted to beat them. Played county that whole year, and I'll never forget, winning it and standing up on the scores table and just kind of taking it in and saying, "Wow."
It was just special times, and I'm sure that not many fathers and sons get a chance to experience that, and it's just one thing that you'll never forget. Watching him play out at Crawford Gym against the U of L players, and then also the pro players, the older guys don't want to guard him. He's making shots now on the older guys, and they don't want to be embarrassed by the younger kid coming up, 9th and 10th grade, the high school player. So I guess he's going to be all right.
And the tradition is still alive. So I think for all of us, from the Keans to the Houstons, basketball is tremendously important as a sport, but also as unifying a community.
When I look back and at the legacy of my grandfather, my mother, and then my father, I'm just blessed that I think God truly just gave me a gift. If you think about that, the mindset, the character, the work ethic, the level of expectation that our family had for success, it was just ingratiated in us. It was just part of our family, it's part of our culture. When you put the talent along with that, I think that really was kind of like the icing on the cake. That was the foundation.
Accepting on behalf of her late father, Coach William Kean, would you please welcome Allan Houston. And her ring is presented by Miss Jan Rose Coleman of LG&E and Kentucky Utilities. I think she's still got it. What do you all think? She's still got it.
And 2013 Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Allan Houston.
Looks like he could still play.
He can.
Suit him up. We'd like to ask now that all of our inductees, please, come on to stage.
Hold on just a second, we're bringing it. Inductees up on stage. You give them one more great round of applause, please. How about this great group? One more round of applause, please. Ladies and gentlemen, while we have our inductees up here, we'd ask that you'd please stand now as Mr. Jim Barnard leads us in the singing of My Old Kentucky Home.
Please join me. The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the children are gay. The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. The young folks roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by hard times come a-knocking at my door, then my old Kentucky home, good night. Weep no more, my lady, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away.
Once again, a huge congratulations to our 2013 class, Hall of Fame class. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you all so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again here next year to help us celebrate another class. Thank you all so much. Safe travels. Oh gosh, thank you all. This is such a pleasure to be here and see